It's hot.
I know, it won't be long. Isn't that beautiful? Look at that. It's special. Well, I watch a good game of the night. All right.
Good evening. Welcome to City Council meeting of December the 19th. I should say meeting and dinner. Thank you very much for those who prepared it on the council. Madam Clerk, would you read the roll call, please?
Yeah. Mr. Shiland? Mr. Shiland?
What?
You're here.
Ms. Gray? Mr. Moore?
Oh, you mean we started?
Ms. Reclue?
Yeah, present.
Mr. Shiverdecker?
Here.
Mr. Stone?
Merry Christmas.
Mr. Vaughn? And Mr. West.
Hey, Courtney.
Yes, ma'am, I am here.
That's 8 council members
Courtney,
present.
when we're busy down here, don't bother us.
Okay. Merry Christmas.
We'll settle down just a little bit. We'll rise with me, and
There's our minister.
Pastor Williamson is with us this evening. And Merry Christmas to you, sir.
Yes,
Thank
Merry
you for
Christmas.
being here.
Privilege, sir. Heavenly Father, this will be the last organized meeting for this governing body for the year 2017. What a fast year we've lived, yet at the same time, so many enter this season still recovering from the earthquakes, tornadoes, floods, fires still burning in California, the hurricanes in the south and southeast. Many families still broken over the mass killings that took place in our nation throughout this year. So we have not been without trial or testing. Yet we know that the reason for this season is the strength that we need to get through any problem or trial in our lives. We claim that and stand upon the promise of Christ. I pray for this session tonight and for those that will participate, for any discussions that are held and decisions that are made, that they be pleasing, Lord, first to you. I thank you, Lord, for the faithful service and stewardship of our mayor and council persons, the administrators, and all those who lead the various departments of this city. And I do pray for them as this year ends and we transcend into a new year, that you'll continue to bless and guide this city with wisdom, with strength, Lord, and with perseverance from all who serve us here together. I pray for those that we continue to pray for on a daily basis that have had health and other issues through the year. I want to continue to pray for Jocko Bowman. He has a lot of needs, Lord, and we pray for him. I ask you to continue to help and move forward Mayor Benton, Chief Myers, Gabriel Polston, Mr. and Mrs. Reclue, Mr. Chiland, Mr. Moore, and any and all others that are associated, tied to, or serve this city in any way. Thank you for your love and strength and for all that you do. Guide and direct our lives and our steps, we pray in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pastor.
Merry Christmas.
Merry
Christmas. Merry Christmas.
And we really do appreciate all of your support throughout the year.
Oh, we sure do. He's always there.
Okay. At the beginning of every council meeting, we set a time aside for those in the community who have a concern they'd like to share with the council. And all we do is ask that you give us your name and your address and limit your comments to 5 minutes, of which the city clerk will time that. Is there anyone present who would like to come forward and address the council? Please do so at this time. Seeing no one coming forward, we'll move on to the consent agenda. The consent agenda this evening consists of the following items: the approval of council minutes from November the 28th, the acceptance of Director's Administration report that are in their council packet, the approval of request by the YMCA for a hot cocoa hustle 5K on the January 20th, and the acknowledgement of the Airport Advisory Board meeting that happened on December the 4th. Are there any items there that any council person would like to take off the consent agenda? If not, I
Motion to approve. Second.
have a motion to accept the consent agenda or approve the consent agenda. All, any, is there a second on that?
Yes.
Okay, I got it, thank you. Okay, all those in favor of approving the consent agenda, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All those opposed, no. Thank you. Very good, we'll move on to unfinished business. Wastewater treatment plant, I've been down there a couple times this last week, the last couple of weeks, it's looking really good. Kyle, you want to give us the nitty gritty? Please.
That's a good word for this subject. Yeah, we're all hoping that Santa Claus will bring us a complete sewer plant, wastewater treatment plant by the end of this year, but we'll have to wait till early next year, kind of February. It's looking like we're hoping that we at least get this thing done by the extension that was given by Department of Natural Resources. So, but yeah, the major work that's gone on so far, the last few weeks has been with the inner ditch. I don't know if any of you guys had the opportunity to go down there, but the big oxidation ditch, there's two rings of it. That the inner ring has been completely drained, and diffused air with all the piping required was installed with it. Kind of the big heartburn, with that process is what do we do with everything that's settled to the bottom of that over time? Yeah. And that process went pretty good on the inner ditch, but a lot of the inner remains, I'll call it, was pumped to the outer ditch. Well, now that we're getting ready to start on the outer ditch toward the end of this week, we're obviously not going to pump the grit and that remaining bottom material back into a new and upgraded inner ditch. So there's going to be more of those solids, I'll call them, to handle. So we've made some calls and had some discussions on that matter, and we've got a process moving forward. We're going to use the old drying beds that we've got down there to store some of that.
Oh, yeah.
We'll also, again, try to keep what we can on the banks of the big lagoon. And at some point later on in life, later on when this process is done, we believe that we can get in there, say with a big track hoe, and get that material out of the lagoon and work it that way. So again, that's the next steps again is to complete that outer ditch aeration piping, and the contractor will be working on that for the next, we'll say, month. Any questions?
Yeah. How are you getting that stuff out of the bottom? Are you pumping it? You scooping it? You putting yourself down there doing it?
Well, the process kind of involves pumping. We've got a vac truck that the contractor has, and our vac truck, we've put the contractor puts a skid steer in the bottom of it and pushes it to one end where it then gets either pumped or vacked out of there. So,
But you're going to get clear down to the bottom. It's going to be pretty and clean.
I tell you what, I don't expect the outer ditch to be as clean as the inner one, but the inner ditch really was pretty amazing how clean it got. And the concrete, you can see the concrete, the concrete that's been there for over 30 years, looked really good shape.
Did it?
So,
Yeah.
Just stay there for the next item.
Okay.
Cool. Any other questions of Kyle?
Next item.
It really is looking nice down there. So it's been, our guys, as well as the contractors, doing nice work. Slow but steady.
I have to go back down there and take a look then, but it was nice that day we was down there.
Yeah. Very good. So we'll move on to new business then, and while Kyle's at the podium. We'll just let him kind of address. This is a request by the well, you all can read all that, but
Yeah.
for those that are at home, it's a request by the VFW to place a message board on the Callaway South Bank lot. And we've had to do some research on that, and we'll let Kyle talk
Yeah,
about
Courtney and Bill and I have been working with the VFW. They want to put a sign that's placed on the Callaway Bank's property. Obviously they want that frontage to Business 54 so people can see their sign. The issue is that Business 54 right there is controlled by MoDOT. And even though, no matter where they put that sign, MoDOT has control over signage along that road. So many of you know, all of you know that MoDOT and us are have a partnership, in the upgrade of Business 54. The planning process is taking place now, and the contract will be let next year, and all that. So because all that's going on, their policy is not to process any signage permits until after a project like that is over.
Makes sense.
And that project probably won't be over till 2019.
Oh,
So
probably.
MoDOT is not even going to not even going to take a look at that until 2019.
Makes sense.
Yeah, Mike.
But
So,
that's down here, that's not part of the project, is it, down there?
correct. No, it is.
It is?
It's city limits to city limit.
Okay, I'm sorry, I was just thinking it was up this way.
And MoDOT is doing sidewalk work and an overlay from the south end of 54 all the way to the roundabouts. They own that
Okay.
south part, and they
Sure.
also own the north part from Abbott Bell north.
Okay, I just had a different mental
Yeah,
model of what it was gonna be, so I understand that now. Okay, thank you.
yeah. Biggest reason you've heard just us talk about the north is because we're putting the utilities
Right,
underground.
and we're doing a lot of the work there, I know.
Right.
Right,
Is
But
there
other than
a-
that, no, it's
yeah,
all the way through.
gotcha.
I have a question.
Yes, Mary.
Is it a digital, is that what they're wanting? A digital type thing? Is that what they were gonna do, or was it, do you know?
Les may have to answer that. I think it
Was it some
had
kind
some
of a-
LED qualities
Okay.
to it, but I don't know the exact.
Okay, I just wondered if
Yeah.
that was what they were talking about. Okay. No problem.
But
I'm sure it'll be revisited.
Oh, sure.
the Callaway Bank said they approved, they agreed with this, but it's not on the bank's property, is that correct?
To my knowledge, they would be putting it on the bank's property.
They would be.
Their desire would be to put it on the bank's property.
But MoDOT overrides.
And MoDOT can tell the bank, this is your land, but you don't get to do with it what you want?
Apparently so.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
They've done it in other places in communities. So.
Well,
Like all the signage that you see on highways, that's, even though it may be off the right of way, they have control over it.
so let me ask this question. Can they go up in height to make their sign be noticeable?
I think that could be there is some potential there if they left it on their own property over there.
That's what I was wondering. We might would have to give them a variance for it, but I was thinking, well, if they just stay on their own and go up higher, I mean,
Les, would you like to give the council 2 minutes on
Yeah.
your side of the situation so they can be thinking about this for a year?
One thing, one of the most important things is, they can't legally do that. Our ordinance doesn't allow for you to advertise on somebody else's property unless it is Zone C3.
Oh, okay.
So the Callaway Bank would probably have to be Zone C3, and I don't think that property is big enough. C3 is required to be 3 acres or more, and I don't think the Callaway Bank lot is that big.
I see.
I did talk to these folks 6 months ago and told them that they could get on their property and put a sign up that would go above the building there in front of them. And I thought that's what they were gonna do, and then all of a sudden I hear about this. But that's mainly the story, is it'd have to be some rezoning, and I don't think you can rezone it. I don't think it's big enough.
Thank you. Good point.
Or we'd have to pass an ordinance allowing
Right.
it.
We had to give them a variance.
We'd
There'd have to be.
Or,
We don't give variances on signs, simply because we'd be in here every day giving variances on signs.
I appreciate that.
Okay, thank you, Les. just wanted you all to know.
Thank
So
you.
it's a little more complicated than maybe it appears.
Okay.
Dad, do we
Okay.
still have a height restriction when we had the Golden Corral? Height of that sign? Because the Golden Corral wasn't allowed to have theirs as high
When
as
I
they
was
wanted it.
actively sitting on P and Z, of course, we ain't anything over P and Z forever now.
Okay.
But,
Okay, very good. Thank you,
Thank you,
gentlemen.
Les.
it had to do
Both
with,
of you.
We
Okay,
hadn't run into the
we'll
same
now
thing
move
up there.
on to matters that are not on the, listed on the agenda that council would like to bring forward. And this evening, we'll start with Mr. Shiland down there.
nothing.
Thank you very much, Mr. West.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you very much. Same to you. Ms. Recluse.
There, I noticed a sign on East First Street. The street sign itself is about to fall over, the green sign. If someone would take a look at that, okay, appreciate that. And also, I noticed as you come from the fire station on Tennyson, there we go again, towards 54, Business 54, there's 3 of the street lights are doing that blinking on and off thing again. They were that way in front of my house, and they come out and fixed it right away. So I've noticed that again at night. I don't know what that means. They'll be on, then they'll be off. And that's about it. That's all I've got. Thank you.
Very good, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I just want to thank you all for my first year on the council. As council and mayor and department heads, it's been very enjoyable. I felt extremely welcome. Thank you.
We'll
Thank
talk
you very
about a
much, Mr.
resolution
I
first.
want to work on that.
We need to work on that. We need to work on that. That was good, Mike.
This is great.
Well, first of all, I want to thank Park and Recreations for the Field of Joy. I've been out there 2 or 3 times, and it is very enjoyable. Even out-of-state people have commented on it. So, good job to the city employees and Park and Recs for doing that. And then here I go with my broken record. Mr. Dunlap, last week you gave us, or last meeting, you gave us a very nice report on the smart grid. And you kept throwing out these large dollar amounts. And once I asked you, is it a grant? You said no. Once I said, is the electric bill going to go up any? You said no. So where is these millions of dollars coming from for this smart grid?
The meter cost was taken out of reserves to buy the initial meters, the 50% that was needed. I think we've always said the electric side was a grant. The water and gas is not a grant. So that's probably where the confusion is. Part of it is a grant, part of it's not.
And they're being paid by the ratepayer, basically, by the consumer, which is the actual cash, like Darrell said, is coming out of reserves that have been built up through the years.
Which is one reason we're not fully deployed in the water and gas yet. We wanted to get the system operational, make sure it was going to do what we wanted to do before we made the large capital investment in doing the water and gas meter. And then even when we do that, we're looking at doing about 25% of the meters a year to be able to do it out of our operational funds and not have to worry about any increases.
Well, I think he also mentioned that when we got the new meters, several of them weren't operating correctly and they was either repaired or replaced.
Yes,
Is that
ma'am.
a good sign to start out on a project this enormous?
Well, as we understand it from talking to other cities that's done this, the life there is a high mortality rate on these meters when they're first installed. I believe the co-ops experience the same thing other cities have too. It's an all-electronic meter. They either work for a long time or they have a short life, and that's what everybody seemed to have seen. So we did have quite a few failures when we put 5,000 of them out there. The good part is the gas and the water doesn't seem to be having that same issues.
I have a great concern. I don't know if any of you have ever taken the time to pass out the free foods to the underprivileged people in this community, but there's a lot of people hurting, and I don't want this expense, this great, to fall on them.
Well, I understand that, and when you look at the water meters themselves, you know, there's a lot of water meters that have not been changed out in this system. It's over 20 years old. So when you look at just the water meters themselves, and remember that that water meter reading is a water rate plus a sewer rate. And there's a town in the southern part of the state did a presentation a couple weeks ago at MPUA board meeting. And they changed all their water meters out because of the water losses. And if you just take our rates, and basically we have 1.5 million gallons a day average. If we replace the old meters, and let's just say there's a 2% loss. That's been pretty easy since a third of our meters are over 20 years old.
Sure.
You know, that's almost $100,000 a year in lost revenue. So, I mean, that's one of the drivers, is getting the accuracy of the meters.
We're investing a whole lot of money into something that we're not sure that in the end result is going to be worth all the money we're taking from these. We're only a community of a little over 12,000. And from what I'm seeing with the helping hand into this, some people are hurting really bad.
Well, you got to look at all of it, though. I mean, if you look at what you're saving, you know, our cost, annual cost for the annual maintenance of the equipment, you know, comes up to about $110,000. If you just look at meter reading cost of personnel and gas,
Right.
assuming zero salvage value of the cars, don't even count that, just gas and labor. And they usually read about half the month, so take 14 days of that labor, not a whole month, just 14 days. And you run that through, you end up with a meter reading cost of 40 cents a meter. That's what it costs you.
Okay, I have a meter in my front yard that's got a little black rubber thing on it that you just put your little wand down there and it reads that. That hasn't been that way in a few years, and we're already replacing that?
No, that was started years ago, and there's some that haven't even been replaced yet. There's some that are not touch reads. From what I've researched, that was started before I got here, probably about 92, 93. So even though those were 92, 93, those meters are 20 years old now. Those first ones that was replaced to a touch read. But if you look at that and you look at the truck rolls, you've got an annual cost of about $110,000 for the software reimbursed, the warranties.
Okay.
And on truck rolls and meter reading cost, you've got a savings of $180,000. That's not even including any sort of better service to your customers. It's
Now,
just
are you
taking the
talking
bare.
yearly or monthly?
I'm talking yearly.
Mhm.
These are annual numbers. And what we did, Kathy and I, is we checked our numbers against Tanlus's business cases they've been running now. We picked the lowest number or lower numbers in what they used for truck rolls. We said a truck roll to a house is $30. That's what we used.
Okay, and then you said all of the upgrades on this grid thing isn't working.
Well, I talked to billing today, and I think they've done 6 routes, and Trish was very happy with her results. They've all been billing. They've been billed 6 routes that have water, gas, and electric in it.
Okay.
So,
Cool. But right at this point, we're basically electric. We're not including water and gas?
no,
As long as
6
we're
routes. 6 routes are complete.
Mhm.
All the electric's done.
By Miss Recluse's place, right?
I don't remember all the routes are at, but there's 6 routes that was finished. One of them's Route 60, I think that's kind of business 54 north, if I remember right. And then whatever routes the water put in, the gas followed them same routes. Okay.
6 out of how many that do you have to do?
I wish Kathy was here, but she's not here tonight. But I don't remember how many routes unless Bill remembers. But you got about 1,000 gas and water out there. And you got about 4,500 of these, so I mean, it's 25%, roughly. Is about where we're at. But if you look at the annual numbers, they're better than I thought they would be. But you know, that's up to you all to decide. It is working currently. We had an outage this afternoon. The ladies downstairs seen it shortly after 4. They called the power plant to make sure the power plant saw the 8 or 9 houses that's out of power. They'd already seen it too. And, crews was dispatched to those.
This is twice you've mentioned we've had an outage with electricity. What's our problem with that?
It's mostly squirrels right now, getting ready for the winter.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, appreciate it.
Thank you, Darryl.
And then I just have one other wham. I've been looking at the 2018 budget, and some of the, I don't know if you'd call it administrative, upper echelon, for a community the size of ours, there's some salaries going out there that is ridiculous. And there's some way, somehow, we need to put a cap on some of these outrageous salaries. You've got people shoveling snow at 3 o'clock in the morning, they're barely making it. And then we have others that's way up there. Some way this needs to, I don't know, whenever I called a few people I knew, according to their program, on some of ours, we're 45% higher on certain salaries than other areas the size of ours. And every year, I'm going to get evaluated and I'm going to get another 3 or 10% pay increase. I think that needs to cap of some kind on it. And that's it. I'm done.
Very good. Thank you.
Very good.
Mr. Long?
Yeah, I do have a few things. Also, I'd like to know if there's any update on the house on 6th Street.
Or the little house problem.
Yes, sir, I turned it all over to the prosecuting attorney a couple of weeks ago, and that's all I know. I haven't heard anything from him about it. But it has all been turned over to him.
Are you still researching the little house problem?
Little house problem.
Oh,
I was thinking you was going to do an update or something on the little houses and where they could be built or something.
The tiny house.
the tiny house on the
Or
corner.
the tiny house, yeah.
Build the tiny house anywhere in town that you want right now.
You sure can.
I was thinking, though, you talked about doing some kind of research on
I
they
think
could
we're
be
going
in.
to, we will be having a planning and zoning meeting after the first of the year on some items, and we're going to talk to them about it, see what their recommendations are, and then bring it to the council and see what you folks would like to do.
Okay.
Okay.
Les, how about this? Get a hold of the prosecutor tomorrow and get an update from him. Write me an email and I'll forward it to the council.
Okay.
That'd be nice. Thank you.
Excuse me, Richard, I
That's
didn't mean to butt in.
Well, I had that down to ask too. Also, I'd like to, is there any kind of update on the smoke tests we've been doing around on the sewers? How that's coming along? I noticed the guys were up on Wood Street and that working.
Yeah, they're smoking again. We pulled off for a little while to help with the plant. They are finding some things. Haven't seen anything major that they found on that section you're talking about. They did find a spot down around Danhuser, and actually the contractor that is working on 4th Street, he's going to go down there hopefully tomorrow and start digging that up down around Danhuser and try to fix that spot that is so bad.
I noticed when I drove up Wood Street, across from the golf course there was a vacant lot where there was a house down, and there was 3 places out in the yard and smoke was coming up out of that area.
Yeah, it's probably their old service line.
Yeah.
Did they have it flagged? Did you see some flags?
No, actually, I think it's probably before they flagged it.
Okay.
But it looked like they had maybe just started, and they were out driving the line. I didn't notice that.
I know they found some cleanouts that was off and a few things like that, and one lost manhole that was covered up with asphalt and it was smoking through the crack. So we found a manhole we'd lost.
Yay.
Yay. I always like it when we find a lost manhole.
And also, that's all I've got on that. And I was gonna ask JC, but he's not here, but it's my understanding that we were looking into maybe finding another site or opening up one of the landfills for yard waste or something, or had some meetings?
We met with Bluebird a week or two ago, and JC and I have been talking to the owner of that establishment to see if we can work out a deal to continue taking our yard waste there.
Even though the neighbors are objecting to it?
Yes.
Yeah. That
Our yard waste is not the issue.
No, yard waste.
Well, according
doesn't
to the
cause that.
gentleman right across the road from there, he says it is.
Well, it doesn't come from leaves.
Well, I understand
Sticks,
that part, but
and
then
we're
you're
not
gonna
taking
mix
the
it.
other part, so.
It's being mixed with something else because he said it's atrocious whenever they go out there and stir that all up.
Very good.
And also, Mayor, I spoke to you the other day about talking to Bruce, I think, about a business. I
Yes.
was wondering if
I did
got
pass that on
forwarded
to Bruce.
Thank you.
And, yeah, he hasn't gotten back to me,
No,
but
that's fine.
I did ask him to follow through on that, yes.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
I do know that he's been into other businesses, because we just had a visit today, but.
Sure.
Go ahead.
That's
Is
all.
there anything else, Rick?
No.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Moore?
Well, I'll make mine quick. On my wonderful day of getting signatures, on Northwest Street, there is a street light off at the top of the hill they would like to have fixed. 8th Avenue has a street light out that they would like to have fixed. And just out of curiosity for Daryl, why is some days the lights stay on Martin Luther King all day?
That's the smart grid at work.
That is not the smart grid. Then my other one is that just because I've been here a while,
30
I would
years.
like to say, yeah, 30 years maybe. I'm not that old though. But to your response, not that I don't agree with you, but before you get that out of hand, when you say you chicken, I would like if you would go to the administrator, do a work session that surveys cities around you, because some people exaggerate what we get paid, and if you start looking, we don't match half the cities around us in pay. And so I'm just saying for you, and that's how some things get started in town, so I would just say, as a council, we should research our pay scale together, and I think you'd be surprised. And my other one was at first of the year, I would like in our work session to remind the mayor and administration about occupancy permits and about working on abandoned houses in 2018, some
Amen.
project. I just didn't want to forget those two items.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Hudson and I talked the other day about the vacant or bad houses. And yes, we will include that for the next budget, and we do have scheduled for the occupancy permit for the next work session. And I'm going to ask the newspaper, I'm going to wait till we announce that meeting, but I was going to ask the newspaper to please invite all the renters in the community to make them aware that we will be discussing that, and would like to have their input.
And landlords.
Landlords. That we're going to be discussing occupancy permits for renters, and so landlords would definitely be affected. We'd like to have their input.
You want landlords and renters?
I don't know that we need renters, but we have landlords are definitely.
I think that you get the other side of the story.
Getting both sides.
You want testimonials? I can get you a few.
I don't know if you want to. Never mind. Okay. If you'll just put it out that we're going to be discussing occupancy permits in the community, and I think you could contact either Councilman.
Congratulations on the promotion.
Councilman Moore or Councilman West, and they can give you more information. Okay. Anything else, Steve?
Nah, that's all I had.
Hope you got a
Thank you very much.
promotion.
Mr. Shiverdale.
I'm good, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, very good. We do not have any resolutions this evening. We do have ordinances. we have a first reading ordinance that's bill number 1492 that has to do with a tax holiday that the state authorizes every year for sales tax. And it happens in April, and we just get it out of the way first of every year. So we're definitely organized. Councilman Shiverdecker, would you please present 1492 for first reading, title only?
Yes, sir. Bill number 1492, an ordinance allowing the Show Me Green sales tax holiday to apply to the local sales taxes of the city of Fulton, Missouri between April 19th, 2018 and April 25th, 2018. Make a motion that we advance bill number 1492 for a second reading at our next regularly scheduled meeting.
Second.
Very good. I have a motion and a second to advance bill number 1492 to second reading. Is there any further discussion or questions on this motion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All those opposed, no. Very good. Bill number 1492 will be advanced for reading at the next meeting. Bill number 1493 is a bill that has to do with the back-to-school sales tax holiday, which happens in August. And again, it's one that we're going to make sure we have in place. Councilman Stone, would you please present bill number 1493, first reading, title only?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I will do that. And also, Ms. Recluse is not feeling well and her voice is breaking, so I will also be reading 1495 this evening.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Bill number 1493, an ordinance allowing the back-to-school sales tax holiday to apply to the local sales taxes of the city of Fulton, Missouri between August 3, 2018 and August 5th, 2018. I move to present this bill for first reading at tonight's meeting and then to present it for second reading at our next scheduled meeting in 2018.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second to advance bill number 1493. Is there any further discussion of this motion or question? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All those opposed, no. Very good, thank you. We'll now consider bill number 1494, which is a ordinance that adopts a management system so we'd be in compliance with the rest of the world here. So, and it has to do with our EOC operation, so that we participate in. So, Councilman Moore, I'll ask you to present bill number 1494 by title only, first reading.
Bill number 1494, an ordinance adopting the National Incident Management System, NIMS, as the standard for incident management by the city of Fulton, Missouri, incorporating said adoption into the code of the city of Fulton, Missouri. I move this bill be placed on next regularly scheduled council meeting in 2018 by title only.
Second.
Very good, thank you. Have a motion and a second to advance bill number 1494. Is there any further discussion on this motion?
So that the grants that you're talking about, I mean, it gives them eligibility, that's for them to get grants, not.
And for us.
And for us. I talked with Kevin a little bit about this because we are currently already operating under these NIMS procedures, but unfortunately, just for housekeeping, we couldn't find where you guys had officially adopted it. So this is going to put it in our code so that it's always there. There's no question about it. So we're already doing this. Fire department's already been handling this in the past, but this is just a formal adoption.
Okay.
Any other follow-up? Okay. Hearing none, all those in favor of advancing 1494, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All those opposed, no. Okay, very good, thank you. We'll now consider bill number 1495, which is an ordinance that designates an authorized signer for MoDOT, our transactions. And they're trying to go electronic on us, and anyway, with setting this all up, then we should be able to expedite those contracts in the future. Councilman Stone, would you please present 1495 for first reading, title only?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Bill number 1495, an ordinance designating an authorized signer to execute digital contracts with the Missouri Department of Transportation on behalf of the city of Fulton, Missouri, and establishing an effective date. I move that this bill be moved forward for second reading in our next scheduled meeting.
Second.
Very good. I have a motion and a second to advance bill number 1495. Any further discussion of that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All those opposed, no. Very good, thank you. I think that'll do it for ordinances, and now we'll go to announcements. Again, you can see when the next council meeting is, and then the city of Boonville is going to have a regional division meeting, looks like January the 9th. 17th, I'm sorry. And we need to let the clerk know by the 9th, okay. And again, at our next work session, at our next regular meeting, 6:30 will be the work session, which again, we will address the occupancy permit question and get the ideas for that, so. Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I should have mentioned this earlier. I want to show appreciation to whoever got the Wi-Fi fixed. It's now working fine tonight, so I should have brought that up earlier, sorry. Thank you.
I think Mr. Boone had
Boone will pass that on.
good chance of getting that done. So
Thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, very good. I have a motion to adjourn. All those in favor, please signify by standing.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Happy New Year.